So welcome everybody to another Web3 BIMA Council Talks. You're here with myself, I'm Tom, and Sarah as well. And the Web3 BIMA Council is here to give you facts, not fluff. So the council's purpose, I suppose, is here to ensure that all agencies actually understand what blockchain is and why it matters and why it might be important for their clients. So I'm very excited today to join with Stephen Paterson from And Digital. And Stephen is the Chief for Tech and People Evolution, and a grand designer, which I'd like to hear a bit more about later on. So Stephen, over to you to introduce yourself. Just give us a bit of a background about who you are, and your place at And. And then also I'd like you to explain what And's meaning is behind the word remarkable.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for that intro. Yeah, so I'm Stephen. I have been at And Digital from the beginning. So we're just celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year, which is great in itself, is remarkable. And I'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, I am the chief for technology strategy at And. Which largely is focused on what are the technologies that we as And, or as we refer to our people as Andes, we're all Andes at And Digital. What are the technologies that are relevant to us in terms of the technology we use each and every day with our clients, that we can help our clients build great and remarkable digital products with? But also, what are those technologies that we can really upskill our people in, hire our people with those skills, and really kind of equip our clients with that knowledge, insight, and skill set that enables them really to take on whatever that digital product might be that we're working with them on together. So that's sort of my role in And. And grand designer, we all have an And title. We bring our sort of professional selves and our outside of work selves to And, and maybe that's the play on the word and as well. It's not either or. It is always And. It's always inclusive in that regard. So we're bringing our whole self to work. And grand designer spent too much money, too much time perhaps over the years building and developing and restoring various houses and properties. So
Okay.
I always wanted to feature on the Grand Design show. Never quite pulled that off. I wanted that small budget contribution from Mr. McLeod. Never quite happened. But that's me. And I guess the remarkable bit is that, from the very beginning, we wanted to build a business, a technical services business that just felt different to our people, the people who work for and the clients that we work with and for. And it felt very much to us that in terms of how we described our business, that we want to make a remarkable impact for our people, how they work, how we look after them, how they feel about the culture and values within and make a remarkable impact for our clients. So not just building digital products together, but building digital products that mean something, that have an impact for their customers or their clients in a way in which perhaps others may not be able to do. So yeah, the word remarkable absolutely is something that is part of our fabric around how we work and what we stand by.
Fantastic. Okay. Do you know what? I find that quite common, and I have a similar, not building houses, but I like to restore old tools and old things that would otherwise be chucked away. And I've seen it quite a lot where you get like people that are deep into tech in their profession. You need the other extreme of that, that's like non-screens, non-tech, hands-on, physical, like restoring stuff to sort of balance it out. Let's get into the first question then. So today is all about yourself and Digital to understand their position within emerging tech. And as you will all know, myself and Sarah's philosophy, I suppose, behind the Web3 Council is to give you the good and the bad, because there are ways in which this technology that we're talking about today, which is blockchain, can change the world in some instances, but there's many ways that it cannot. So, could you start off by giving us an idea of your view around the potential of blockchain? How would you describe that around either sectors, industries, use cases, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, it is a great question, and I think maybe where I would start is that the concept perhaps of blockchain for is not a new thing. It's not a new thing to potentially to our clients, or a new thing necessarily to us as a technology services business. I think when I kind of wind the clock back a little bit, perhaps go back to, I don't know, 2017, 2018, right about that time, where there was the most hype really driven by crypto, I think, around blockchain. I think there was a lot of general sort of skepticism outside of those cryptocurrency areas, or potentially those startup or scale up fintech businesses that were using blockchain almost to market their value, their worth, their product in the market. And I think, like any responsible technology business that we are, it's our job to sort of stand back a little bit without jumping in with too soon, or jumping in with both feet, to really kind of understand where might blockchain play a role for our types of clients and the type of work that they ask us to do, and how might that actually genuinely add value to them and their customers and their clients, and how they work and operate. So I think that sort of 2017, 2018, we were definitely observing, definitely sort of holding back a little bit, and just waiting to almost to be a fast follower if there was an opportunity for the type of work that we do with our clients. And I'll be honest, we haven't done a great deal of blockchain work with our clients. There have been pockets, and perhaps more in that startup scale up spot, or that part sector of the market, and particularly in fintech. I think as things have settled down and we are seeing broader, wider, deeper use, I think, of blockchain technologies that some of our clients have adopted, and particularly around transparency, and not just transactional transparency, but more around actually, can we see where transparent supply chains, for example, we certainly have seen being adopted by a number of our retail clients. I think the interesting thing for us, and potentially the majority of our clients, is that there often is other ways of solving the problem that blockchain could also perhaps solve, that they don't necessarily have the skills or the risk appetite to take on going down a blockchain path. And that may be because of some of the more recent press around NFTs, or around some of the crypto firms that perhaps haven't made it into the long term, and have perhaps disappeared, or certainly recently. And it may be just that sort of press that has sort of shied a number of our clients away from adopting that type of technology. It's one that we're not saying no to, in fact, we would never say no to any type of technology, but it's one where we're still observing, we're still waiting to see actually where that genuine breakthrough can be beyond certainly the financial sectors, the crypto areas, certainly the NFT market, which still has some life left in it. And still, as I say, we do see those old use cases that we can certainly apply crypto to. So it's certainly not a no. And I think when I look at the broader and bringing the Gartner hype curve into play, we clearly pay attention to Gartner, to Forrester, in fact, all of the analysts that can credibly really get behind where the technology market is going, so that we get some real belief and insight. And when I look at VR or AR or robotics or quantum, blockchain certainly in that mix as well. We wouldn't say no to any one of those, but we are not necessarily, and a lot of our competitors that we're coming up against as well in the market for the type of work we do, are not necessarily seeing a whole lot of work in those spaces. Not to rule it out at all, but right now it's not necessarily something we're seeing.
And Stephen, if I could jump, thank you so much for sharing that. I think I'm really interested in the level of push versus pull when it comes to decisions that you make and how much time is spent investigating certain technologies. And I think my hunch, and Tom and I have talked about this, my hunch is that when it comes to certain technologies right now, there's been such a pull from clients that actually agencies have really had to upskill and step up when it's come to things like AI, for example, because there's been such a pull from clients to want to understand, what am I supposed to be doing, and how could I be using this, and I don't want to get left behind, versus the actual time and investment to really understand certain technologies that could be used to solve problems. But if you're not getting that pull from clients, I wonder how much time is actually spent really digging around and how realistic that is to understand what is possible and what could be used to solve problems in new and different ways. And I just think, having run an agency myself, when clients were asking questions about certain technologies, that attention went there, and there was little time necessarily to always be the one making suggestions and spending time, especially with something like blockchain, which is more complex to get your head around in terms of understanding the possibilities and the problems that could be solved. And I just wonder what you thought about that in terms of push versus pull, and if that's a thing, and if you think there is enough time to really investigate and understand how other technologies could be used to solve problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. And I think, yeah, what you're describing, I think, again, winding the clock back, perhaps before the pandemic, I think there was a lot more freedom to really kind of explore the landscape, think about actually how different problems might be solved in more interesting, innovative ways that would enable perhaps the use of some more leading edge technologies to be deployed in ways in which perhaps today that has changed a bit. I think the belts have continued to be tightened. An emphasis and focus on speed to value and accelerating speed to value, I think, certainly persists. That's what we are seeing in the market. So it's not necessarily jumping straight into, and here's the solution to whatever that problem might be, and let's go. But there is an awful lot more emphasis, I think, on getting to that answer really quickly, and not necessarily the freedom or the luxury of being able to survey the territory and think about other ways in which problems might be solved. There's a phrase that has resonated with me, I think, and I've probably quoted it way too many times with my team and others and other clients as well, that often there are technologies that can be seen as a solution in search of a problem. And I think that definitely is something that has been applied, I think, to a lot of those technologies on that hype curve. And I think being able to, for us, straight away, being able to understand the problem it is we're trying to solve is step number one, so that we make sure with our client that we are genuinely focused on the right opportunity, the right challenge, the right problem that actually will have impact once we do solve it for them. And back to that speed to value aspect as well, that we have the right processes, the right knowledge and right content to really kind of solve that in the most expedient way. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the pool is more about how can I get genuine impact quickly, whether that's saving on the cost side or whether that's delivering new product experiences and delivering new revenue on the other side. And I think that balance is certainly there. We will, as a responsible partner, certainly for our clients, of course, make sure that we're comfortable. We will make that point very clearly, of course, with our clients until we either arrive at the place where we've really made a very solid case, or vice versa. So we'll strike that balance, but always with an eye on impact and that speed to value. I think other part of your question, the AI example, and again, AI been around for many decades. I think the Gen AI aspect, I think, of AI and perhaps machine learning coupled into that as well for the last 18 months, the fact that that has become so popular as a consumer level, and therefore almost open to all, and a bit more straightforward for people to get their heads around, and a bit more straightforward in terms of being able to make the business case, being able to make the connection between productivity gains or efficiency gains that can be delivered in reasonably straightforward ways. And the balance of how might this open up solving problems that have been put on the back burner, but have a big opportunity for delivering value. But actually, there's just not been really credible ways of solving that. And I think Gen AI and combined with machine learning and other related aspects, I think, of the within that AI family is definitely more straightforward in being able to, not simple, but certainly more straightforward than perhaps blockchain might be in being able to solve some of those problems. So we're certainly seeing more uptake, more conversations that we're pushing, we're driving, we're delivering as and with our clients some genuine productivity gains, some genuine business impact on revenue opportunities that we're able to explore more readily. And I think that's consistent with the market. Certainly that's what we're seeing right across the piece, is that the take up of AI, particularly through Gen AI, chatbots, and driven by one of the things that I think is really helping on that front as well is that the opportunity where a number of organizations have spent a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of energy in developing the quality of their data architecture, their information architecture, getting it to a point where they can really exploit that. And actually the great bedfellows, the great high quality data and the opportunity to really build that out, train your models in the right way, using the new tool sets that a lot of the AI players and platform players are able to now provide. So I think for me, that's where and why I think we're seeing a different conversation happening around AI than we may have done. We're seeing that difference now in 2023, 24 than we certainly saw for blockchain in 17, 18. I think that uptake across all sectors, across all parts of a business value chain, I think we're definitely seeing that in a different way.
It's okay. What you said at the start there on your saying of is this the technology that is in search of a problem really resonates with me, and me and Sarah talk a lot about this, stealing one of Sarah's phrases of no one really cares about the blockchain, which is very true. You know, people care about the thing that it is powering, doing something differently, and they're using. But I'd like to challenge us there a little bit. Is it that what you're saying there is because post-pandemic clients are more conscious and wanting arguably faster results? You know, I want to go and build something, I want to go and create something, and I'm less interested now on the future. I want more quicker results potentially. Is it that like AI is more visible and immediate in terms of the impact that it can make tomorrow versus is blockchain still so early? Is it more that the sort of philosophical side of blockchain, to buy into that is something that you have to accept, maybe that you're not going to get results tomorrow? And if you, as Sarah's point, if you fully understand it, could you sit comfortably with that? Is blockchain actually a solution looking for a problem? I don't know. I'm really on the fence with it.
Yeah, and you know, I guess in some ways so am I. I mean, I think that's why we certainly wouldn't rule out equipping all of our people with blockchain skills if we saw that there was a genuine shift and a genuine movement in the market for the type of work that we do. And then, you know, coming back to that, the type of work we do and our clients are asking us for is building apps, building websites, building integration, migrating to cloud platforms, designing for great customer experiences, engineering for great data and insight, and you know, delivering those big sort of programs that achieve all of those things. And if there was a move and a shift that actually technology-wise and architecturally, strategically, I guess that's maybe more the point around this, if there was a strategic opportunity to look at how blockchain could form part of a broader and deeper architecture for a client, I would be, yeah, I'd be right on board with that. So I think there is a bit of balance, not that I think a lot of corporates right now and a lot of enterprises are not being strategic in their thinking, but I think a lot of them have made a number of investments to date in technology over the years, whether that's on platforms or whether it's on bespoke development and partners, and particularly through the kind of mobile revolution as well. And I think that certainly has been a critical part of the investment in focus, and that move from old legacy platforms and so on, I think, and more into that Mac type of architecture. And I think that's been quite an investment for a lot of companies, certainly that we've worked with over the last number of years. And perhaps that is that, how do we kind of then exploit what we've done and exploit that better and quicker in a more value-driven way? And I think your point about actually, can you see that value realized or returned quicker through Gen AI? Perhaps, yeah, I think that is probably true. And we are seeing that through a number of engagements that we've worked through. I think maybe one thing to say on the Gen AI piece, I'm a huge believer in the power and the value that the AI can bring, our clients can bring, and ourselves, in terms of how we work, how we operate, how we're organized, and so on, and how we use Gen AI really to make us more effective, more efficient, more productive in the type of work that we do right across our business. And I'm a huge believer in that, and that's a move that we are making. What we are seeing, though, in the market still is that it's still a bit of toe in the water stuff. We are seeing a lot of POCs, we're seeing a lot of MVPs, we're seeing a lot of that. Let's not go full all out investment yet. So although for me it's the thing that is shaking up the technology market that we haven't seen since perhaps mobile, or perhaps since the advent of the internet itself, if we want to be that dramatic about it, which I think we probably can be. We're still seeing most certainly PLCs, those that are of significant scale and still have that level of risk balance that they need to be able to take. We're still seeing that sort of toe in the water. That being said, the investment and this is maybe the difference perhaps in this space versus, and you can both tell me differently from your experience, but with Microsoft, with OpenAI, with Google, with AWS, now with Meta, sort of big tech, and a number of other players around the edges of all of that that have significant funding. It's a bit of a market grab from all of those. So they are investing hugely in AI and Gen AI technology like never before, not just on the software, but the training, the professional services, the insight, the thought leadership, the actually getting really close with their clients and not quite giving away software and licenses, although there are examples of that, but really investing. And I think that's in itself is is shaking the market up and is making a significant difference into the take up and the understanding and the value that can be driven, I think, as a consequence.
I think that's a really interesting point as well, because it's definitely in the interests of big tech to do that and to keep an eye on blockchain-based technologies, Web3-based technologies. But actually, if you think from my perspective, from an open format perspective, it's some of the things that blockchain-based technologies will aid is removing some of that power that sits with the big tech companies, right? Which is so actually where the interests lie. And in terms of the investment on certain technologies and really shining a light on what's possible with certain technologies, some of the things that are more associated to the technologies that we're talking about, and how that could change value exchanges and power dynamics, it's not necessarily in the interest of big tech. to talk about some of that. But
Yes.
in my opinion, but I think one of the things that I think is also really interesting is when it comes to the kind of solutions looking for problems. And again, I mean, I've had this for the last 15 years. You see these new tech come out. I remember there was like a whole couple of years when we were building micro location, you know, beacons, like micro
Yes,
location
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was part of that as well.
experiments and all of, you know, we've a number of us have been there before with different, and AR, like I was, you know, getting involved in AR years ago, and then that seemed to go away quietly. And now, like all these things, and you don't know how much time to spend investigating and what's going to go and what's going to come, what's going to take off. I think one of the things that's been really awful is actually how tarnished incredible technology, in my opinion, I'm interested in your perspective on this, Stephen. I think there's so much has been tarnished around what's possible with decentralized technologies because of how NFTs, crypto, how a number of these themes and the language that's associated with that has been void of some of the utility that's possible. And the headlines have all been about some of the disasters that have happened, FTX, like some people losing money, some of the meme coins, like there's been so many different things about, you know, token prices and volatility, and all the noise has been about the bad side. And I think it's going to take a lot of work for other people working in the space on utility to, like, I feel like we're pushing against, as opposed to having the ability to create a new narrative in a way that a lot of technologies haven't had to deal with. But because there's been so much bad noise, it's like a fight, even when some of the utility that I'm seeing is incredible, but people go, NFTs, stop reading, or blockchain, stop reading. So they don't even get, I think there's some people who are not even getting to some of the stuff that's coming up because the association is so negative. And I think that's a hurdle to climb. I don't know if I've been very articulate, but is that resonating with you, Stephen? Does that make sense?
No, I think it does. I think it does. And I think, you know, we've become, you know, a bit of a cynical bunch as well. I think just generally, whether that's, you know, the folks that are in the technology industry themselves, or as end users or end customers, I think or clients to that extent, we all know, I think we know a bit more these days than perhaps we actually do, or maybe we do know a bit more than we used to anyway, regardless of what roles that we may play. And I think it's hard, I think, to shake off some of the reputational damage perhaps that may have been done over the years. And I think, you know, back to one of the, I mean, there's some big players in there as well. You know, when we have played with and it is playing with blockchain, one or two clients. We had a healthcare client a number of years ago that we worked with Ethereum to build a great blockchain around. It was really based on medical history and access to medical history across continents and so on. It was a really interesting use case. And actually, one of the things that I always felt at the time was that, you know, players like Ethereum, forget calling it blockchain, actually could make a bigger play in being able to describe and remarket and rebrand the technology in a way that demonstrated the secure nature of the tech, and actually how this could support end-to-end transactions and non-transactions in ways in which is not possible or is possible, but at great expense through other technology solutions. So I think that sort of immutable record, that idea of being able to really have a ledger that just cannot be touched other than by those that can through the various tokens and secure access. I think it could be a winner and still should be a winner, and I'm sure it is a winner for a number of organizations that are using blockchain today. But that rebranding, I definitely look back at these and still would look to a lot of the platform players in the market. So how are you going to re-go through this. I'm old enough to have been involved with early ERP and Millennium Bug and Year 2000 issues and all the rest of it, which got such a terrible, terrible press. And I think ERP suffered as a consequence of post-year 2000 in ways in which actually they perhaps didn't really quite recover. And I think there is always events in this technology marketplace that people remember and get tainted quite quickly, but you scrape below the surface and look at the core of what this is. And certainly as a tech professional, I think there is so much value to be had and to go after. But and maybe I'm part of it as well. Maybe I need to be thinking about how we rebrand, how blockchain could be used to very clearly solve challenges where data and cyber and data protection and building solutions that are more secure than ever before is so critical, I think, in the day-to-day use of enterprise platforms by our clients.
So that is a really good segue into our last question, which is, one of those use cases, which Sarah is very passionate about, is loyalty and rewards, and has built a whole business around it. As far as I'm aware, that and digital is quite a big player in loyalty and rewards, generally speaking. And as we know, blockchain has a very clear path towards revolutionizing this space for some of the reasons that you just discovered. And talked through there, from Lufthansa in terms of air miles. You've got Starbucks, even though that's closed now. But over the years, in terms of not just a new solution, but solving the problem there around the gamification of how a brand talks to the consumer, there's some amazing examples. So yeah, just talk to us about not necessarily just blockchain, but generally loyalty and rewards.
Yeah, I mean, we are a reasonable player, I think, in this space. I think as all clients, B2B as well as B2C, actually, loyalty, knowing their customer, really using customer data as an asset, I think has become something that is critical to really being able to serve their customers or their clients better in the market where there is so much choice, perhaps, as well. So that level of stickiness or that level of loyalty that customers may find, I think, is certainly reduced over time. However, if there are ways and means of being able to look after those customers, target those customers in a more hyper-personalized way, or provide some level of reward, then the opportunity to really hold on to and retain those customers, rather than constantly having to go back into the market and win new, is there. So we are involved in a lot of those type of both conversations from an advisory perspective and what our clients should be doing or thinking about to exploit their data in the right way, or to utilize their data in more productive ways, their customer data in more productive ways, for sure. But also building out those solutions. So whether they are some of our retail clients, supermarket retail clients, or in fact one of our airline clients as well. We've played a significant role, certainly in the airlines industry, in developing loyalty solutions, both in terms of actually being able to grow what those loyalty opportunities may be in the market in which they operate, but also how we then solve those utilizing technology. And I think, when I think about and it is something back to the push-pull point, maybe that was made earlier, Sarah, as well, that could there have been an opportunity to push more utilizing blockchain? I think particularly around how we may have been able to securely segment loyalty points, and share, for example, loyalty within family or friends, and do that in a really sort of secure way, potentially helping reduce nefarious use of loyalty points, if that was a concern or potentially a risk to the client as well. There may have been ways in which we perhaps could have pushed that a little bit more. However, we found ways of working and operating in technology solutions that's genuinely addressed all of those challenges. So it wasn't as if we were short or shy of some technology solutions to do that. But maybe this could have been ways in which we could have explored in a little bit more blockchain in a little bit more depth. Wouldn't rule it out in the future either for that particular client or others. But I can certainly see where that traceability, that opportunity, particularly around segmentation, I think that's a great way of starting to look at how you may do that. And I've got enough opportunities, I think, to have those type of conversations with clients, new and or existing and potential new clients as well. That it's maybe something that I'll start to think about. But Sarah, I'd be really interested in some of your perspective there as well around how you've used or could use blockchain, I think, in this space.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually listening to you talk it through as well. I think one of the challenges that I actually see in the space, and I was thinking about this even as you were talking then, so I think there's a lot of businesses who have only relatively recently, as in the last 5 years, started to get their house in order when it comes to customer data and actually building these pools of data and thinking about how they use pools of data to their advantage. And I guess part of what we're talking about with blockchain is that the users own their data, right? And so actually that whole way of thinking about where does the data sit, who owns it, who's responsible for their experience and what they do, is going to be quite a big learning curve, I think, for businesses and brands who will say, well, but I don't know if I want cookieless data. Like, where's the benefit for me? And it's like, well, there's a whole bunch of reasons why, from an end user perspective, users being in control of what they're doing and users being, having their own reward points or their kind of loyalty, and then being able to use them across a number of different things whilst not having their data exploited at the same time. There's a huge amount of advantage to this that are bigger than the businesses and brands in themselves, because it's about putting power back to users as opposed to some of what happens today. But I think that's going to be, I do think that's going to be quite a learning curve for a number of people. And I'm excited to see what will happen in this space from a user perspective, and how people will get excited about when they can see where their information sits and then being more in control of it, and when they're able to earn something in one setting and then take what they've earned and use it in a different setting. I'm really excited about that. And I'm also really excited about how businesses and brands are going to be able to connect different digital experiences, and users will be able to flow in amongst them, which will focus on the quality and survival of the fittest when it comes to digital products, as opposed to what happens today quite often is an agency will be paid up front to create a digital product. So much money goes into it that then it's about keeping it alive and doing what you can to maximize that asset, which is a digital asset which has been built, and someone spent 400 grand maybe on getting it out there. They've onboarded a whole bunch of users. How do we maximize? And suddenly you've got this enormous application and you can't possibly change it. So it gets iterated. But the idea that you could have connected but differing digital experiences and kill off some of them and still have users moving in amongst them and having control and ownership of what they've done and what they've been rewarded and whatever they've built up. I'm very excited about that from a business and brand and loyalty perspective, because it's just going to, I believe, enable enormous amounts of innovation where campaigns, digital experiences are all connected from a user's perspective, but the user chooses how they flow in amongst them. And I think there's so much innovation within this. If we can grasp, I know I'm being quite conceptual, but if we can grasp these different things together where the users are in control, you've got these connected experiences, then loyalty in the future and how people choose to stay loyal to a brand as opposed to one specific asset, I think I'm very interested to see what happens here.
No, I think that's great. And I think for me, just picking up on two things there. One is, as an agency developing digital products, I'd love to be paid up front by our clients, by the way. That would be amazing. And secondly, I think I love what you've just described, though, because actually I think all of that comes down from a user perspective. And I think this is the shift and the opportunity I think that blockchain enables is that trust. I trust that my data is being used in the right way for my purpose, and I'm in the level of control that I can genuinely believe in and get behind, and it's to my advantage. And I think that's the opportunity, I think, certainly from a loyalty perspective, that this affords.
Fantastic. Okay, let's wrap it up there. Thank you very much for coming along, Stephen. It's amazing to hear your journey, your personal journey, and yeah, perfectly explains what me and Sarah are trying to do with this series of give everybody the viewpoint of where they're at with blockchain, the good and the bad, where you see opportunities, which differs a lot from person to person, and that's exactly what it's like right now and what we want to try to communicate. So yes,
Right.
thank you very much, Stephen, for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you so much.